Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and a very warm welcome to all of you on behalf of the NYUAD Institute tonight. Thank you so much for being here with us. My name is Saba Khan and I've been with the university for the last 6 years. I'm going to be your host for this evening. If I were to put it really succinctly, in addition to what you've seen with the video, our guest tonight is something of an oxymoron. On the one hand, she's an absolute powerhouse. She's trailblazed storytelling that's coming out of the global south. But on the other, she's really unbelievably humble, grounded, and real. And it's very rare that we actually get that combination. She started out her career as a VJ, as many of us know, went on to act in film and television. One of her earliest television plays in Pakistan was Humsafar, which became something of a global sensation eventually, starting right from people's households. I remember living in Karachi at the time, and streets would be emptied out every week when Humsafar was scheduled to play. From there on, she went to choose films like Bol, like Verna, very inspiring choices. Starred opposite Shah Rukh Khan in India in the blockbuster film Raees. And most recently, as many of you might have seen, she was in The Legend of Mola Jat. But I think I'd be doing her a disservice if I limited her introduction tonight to her identity just as an actor. She's much more multidimensional than that. She's the mother of a beautiful 13-year-old boy. She was appointed the UN Goodwill Ambassador in 2019. And really, when you think about making the space for voices of color, for actors of color more inclusive, when you think about putting Pakistan on the map for all the right reasons, she's an indispensable name that comes to mind. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me and put your hands together to welcome the spectacular yet incredibly grounded Mahira Khan.
Hello, Assalamu alaikum. Hi. This is
Please
so
sit,
nice.
Mahira.
Thank you.
This is such a surreal moment, Mahira. You know, we've been planning it for months, as you know, and we had COVID in the middle, and we were keen that it should be in person, to have you on campus in flesh and blood, and here you are.
Yes, all flesh and blood, and much more than that.
And I want to just start by expressing gratitude, Mahira, because as a mother of 2 small girls, and I know your son is now a teenager, but just that you've flown in from Karachi to be with the university and the institute, we're very, very grateful. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here. Thank you.
Mahira, allow me to start. So we'll do this. We'll have about 40 minutes of conversation. And then I know that there's going to be a lot of you wanting to ask questions, so we want to leave ample space for that. Mahira, allow me to start with an anecdote. So a few years ago, I was sitting in a class at NYU, and I think this was the winter of maybe 2017, and we'd invited a guest speaker to talk to our students. He was the headmaster of a school in the UK, Sir Anthony Seldon. And he was talking to the students about mindfulness and about being immersed in the moment, about making intentional choices, which a lot of us tend to forget in the present. And he quoted something that really stopped me and the students in our tracks. It was a quote by Sir Henry David Thoreau, but this is a rehashed version that he shared. And it said something like, most men and women lead lives of quiet desperation and go to the grave with the song still in them. Most men and women lead lives of quiet desperation and go to the grave with the song still in them. And he said, take 5 minutes and scribble your song on a piece of paper and share it with the person sitting next to you. Now, we're not going to ask Mahira to scribble her song, because I think everyone in this room tonight knows what her song is. But let's start by asking...
What is my song?
Let's start by asking...
No, I really want to know.
Acting, I think,
all right.
I would imagine. But really, how and where did this realization spark that acting was sort of going to be your calling, and that you wanted to unearth this song, metaphorically speaking?
Well, I think I was a very, very little girl when I when I knew in my heart that I wanted to be an actor. I was watching a film, and I've said this many times, and I remember the moment I looked at the screen, on the TV screen, and thought, I don't understand why I'm here, and she's there. I should be there. And I didn't want her to be out of the TV screen. I was ready to share it. I was like, just want to be in there. And then I made no bones about it. I was not shy about it. I was a very shy girl, though, growing up, but I was not shy about telling my mother, Amma, this is what I want to do. You know, how do I do this? So she would say, in our language, कि पढ़ लिख के कुछ कर लो, उसके बाद जो करना है करना. जो भी करना hai.
Yeah.
Right. So, and my nanny also, you know, they all used to be like, just study hard, and once you're done studying, the world is your oyster. So I always wanted to do this. In fact, even when I was in college, and when I was in college, I wanted to pursue chemical engineering. And in fact, just today we met a few students, and I told them that, you know, I left chemical engineering. They're like, yeah, we know. I'm sure you left chemical engineering. There's a good reason why you did that. But even then, I was sitting and applying for like all these acting schools and stuff like that. Never went to any, but it was always a dream that I harbored. And then I think I was lucky enough. And I do have to say that the power of energy and just manifestation and just dreaming day and night, eyes open, eyes closed, just making sure that the universe works in a way that it sort of brings that to you, that song to you. So that's what happened with me. I always knew I wanted to do it. When I came back from LA, I just stumbled upon being a VJ. And even while I was a VJ, I remember the boss who was there, Humsafar. He used to say, why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? I said, no, I'm not going to do all of this because I have to be a movie star. And he used to look at this little girl, what is she talking about?
Yeah.
I do have to say that I realize it now. I had more faith in myself then than I do right now, actually, which is really sad. But at that point, you couldn't shake my faith in myself.
Yeah.
And that's a very good place to be. That's a very good feeling to have, that kind of faith in your own self, what you think you can achieve, the limits that you set for yourself. I was a big dreamer, big dreamer.
Yeah. No, that's beautiful, Mahira. And I know there's students here as well, and just God knows more of us can hear ourselves. We should be saying like that faith needs to be rekindled, right? And somewhere along the way one loses it. And thank you for sharing that. I'm going to come to the craft a little bit, Mahira, because again, obviously we've got a fantastic film and new media major, both here and in New York, perhaps in Shanghai as well. So when Mahira is backing a film, and I speak for myself, but I know I speak beyond myself as well, there is a certain expectation and an assumption of quality being associated with that. You know, you're going in thinking this is going to be unique and compelling. And obviously, Mahira, when you come on the screen every single time, you light it up. And when you're alongside Fawad, I think that just explodes, and we're going to talk about that later. But I suppose backing up a little bit, I'm curious to ask you, what we see eventually on screen, kind of pull us back a little bit, you know, behind the scenes, and say, what do you pull out of your toolbox, or kind of what goes into the making of something so spectacular every time?
Oof. Thank you. I think, actually, I just told myself last night that I will not be apologetic about myself because that's how I am. So thank you. I won't say anything more than that. I do want to take all of you guys back to my student days just a little bit before I answer your question. through the time that I was dreaming, and I was dreaming all the time, but I was also going to college. I also had 2 jobs. I used to work 2 jobs, pay the rent on my own. I had to fend for myself. And I think when you look at me and when people look at me, they don't think that this girl did all of that, right? Maybe the way I speak or the way I am, I don't know what it is, but the truth is that a lot of who I am today, it has so much to do with the fact that I lived that life. Yeah. That life where and I've said it many times, cleaned toilets, been a cashier, been spoken to terribly by customers. You know, it was a whole different life altogether. But I'm so, so grateful for that. Because today when I act or when I'm on set, and obviously in every industry, there is a hierarchy, right? So when I'm on set, a lot of the times I'm given a lot of importance. And I've always found that strange, right? Because I keep telling everybody, people keep saying, oh, you're humble. And I keep telling people, no, I'm just doing my job. And that is something that life in LA, all those years of working all kinds of odd jobs, taught me. The other thing that did for me, coming to acting, is that I bring all those experiences with me. I have that sort of exposure and experience that I bring when I am on screen and I'm acting. There are times where, and I love observing people, I also love talking to people. Like, I'm not one of those actors who doesn't like people. I love people. I love hearing people's stories. And what happens is sometimes I'll be reading something and I'll remember something, someone telling me something, and I'll bring that in. But I'll take you through the craft. So my first film was Bowl, and I was a baby who had just had a baby. So I had like a 5-month-old Aslan with me while I shot for Bowl. And I literally just used to stand in front of the camera. I knew my lines. And Shoaib Mansoor, who's a very big filmmaker, used to be like, "Bas, just say, however you're talking right now, just say it, you know." So that initially just taught me honesty, some sort of, whatever it is that is coming to you. I had no tools. My craft was not developed at all, you know, none whatsoever. And then, of course, Humsafar happened. Where I learnt a lot from all the actors and mainly my director, Sarmat Khusat. And he told me something very important, which was that, look, you're not a trained actor. So you don't have that magic toolbox that is, you know, okay, now I have to cry, so I'm going to go back here, or I'm going to do this, and this is how I'm going to bring it on. Right now, you don't have any of this. So how about you just... उर्दू में कहते हैं कि लाइन पे ईमान ले आए, which is basically you swear by the lines, the dialogues, the scene. And I think I still do that. Yeah. I bring some sort of honesty, whatever I can. I look at it, I read it, I absorb it. And then I try to deliver my lines as honestly as possible. As the years have gone by, I have obviously learned a lot, right? So I've learned to disconnect. I've learned to not go back into a memory and think about a very painful time that I may have gone through and bring that to the table, because that can also mess with my head psychologically, right? So I think my craft and how I'm acting and the different tools that I use, the different ways that I bring in little things have changed over the years. And yes, like you said, what you guys see on screen, sometimes it's very different to what we are going through off screen, you know? There are a lot of times you've come to set crying, and, you know, I've had my makeup artist fix me 4 times because my liner kept bleeding or my mascara was bleeding because I couldn't help it. Tears kept rolling down. And I had to be dancing on stage, or I had to be doing a very romantic and a very happy scene. But that is what we do. That is our job. Yeah. And I think everybody does that in every industry. It's just that the difference is that we are public personalities. We have to look a certain way and act a certain way a lot of the times. We have to have a smile on our face. We have to act like we are happy. So that sometimes can be taxing on the mind. But I wouldn't have it any other way. Because I'll tell you what, as much as it, sometimes I feel like a lot of my friends like, but this also has an impact on your mental health. And for sure, the fact that I am an actor, the fact that I'm also a popular actor, because there is a difference, because how the public reacts to you is very different when you are that famous or you've been put on a pedestal. It's very different. So both can be very taxing, but I swear it's the greatest form of therapy for me. I feel like a little kid, like even now talking about it, I'm just like, it's fun. The only time I like being on an airport is when he says, look into that little camera, and I'm like, I'm joking. But yeah, I love it. I love acting. It's like what I wanted to do as a little girl, and it's my song, and I want to sing it till the day I die.
Yeah. And Mahira, that's a beautiful segue into we've been speaking about this since yesterday, but you're a mother of a teenage boy, Aslan, and there's a lot of people in the audience who might have kids of that age would know that the complexities of that age are different from, say, having a 4-year-old, having a 5-year-old. And alongside that, Mahira, as you've just said, you've got a career that is, most people's careers are demanding, but yours is not just demanding in that, you've got to get onto a plane and travel somewhere. That's part of it. But part of it is exactly what you were saying, that if you're at a red carpet, if you're at an award function, you're at an interview, it's a constant public gaze, right? There's a front stage and there's a backstage, and you can't always take what's happening on the back. In fact, I guess you can rarely take it. There's more than that to it, Mahira, because even when you're in front of the camera can be quite unforgiving. If there's one insincere sentiment, it's just instantly picked up. Yes. And that eventually gets disseminated to millions of people, millions of fans across the world. Now, all the demands of this career, Mahira, are operating in a broader environment. And that is the motherhood piece that I want to talk to you about. And there's an author, Glennon Doyle, and she puts it so beautifully. She says, unfortunately, what a bunch of people have done is they've glorified motherhood martyrdom. So the more, and she puts it so poignantly, she says, there's this line in her book, Untamed, that says, it's as if she who disappears the most loves the most. And so it's almost like if a mother has her own dreams and desires, not by everyone, by some quarters, that's going to be seen as antithetical to being a good mom. And I'm curious to ask you, Mahira, because, we want this to be beyond the glitz and the glamour and all of that. What are those moments of chaos, of mess, of guilt? I'm sure there are moments like that, but how do you deal with that? What are those like, those real sort of moments?
So that's interesting, actually, because when I first started working, actually, when I got pregnant, I had signed something. I was actually about to do something very big, and at that time it was in India. At that time, I was a young girl, and I got pregnant. And weirdly enough, I thought to myself, my dreams are over. It's done for. And it wasn't as if I was very sad about it. I was like, okay, now I'm going to have a baby. But my dream, this is all now. It's not going to happen. Aslan was a few days, maybe a week or two old when Shoaib Mansoor called me for Bol. And I remember writing in my diary that Aslan is the reason why I am who I am. Aslan brought me my dreams. There is never a time that I do not put Aslan first. Never. Now, I don't need to say this because I'm his mother and I know that, and I don't need to prove to the world, right? But a lot of times you are asked questions, a lot of times, other mothers maybe in school or, maybe family, they'll ask you things like, so is he doing okay? You didn't come to school that day. You must have been traveling. I'm being very, very kind right now with the words and comments people say to me, used to say to me, right? Very kind. But again, it comes back to, I'm not saying that I have never felt guilty. For the longest time, I used to feel guilty. Even now, mind you, when right now I was telling you, maybe I'll extend a day or not. Yeah. The only thing I'm thinking about is, should I? Because is it for work? If it's for work, I'm okay. But if it's not, then I'm cutting into my time with Aslan, right? Yeah. Aslan, on the other hand, mind you guys, is 13 years old and really does not want his mama around so much. No, really. Yeah. Yesterday I was leaving and I was like, bye, my love, whatever. And he's like, bye, mama. And I was like, see you day after. He's like, wait, what? I was like, yeah, I'm back day after. Oh, you're just going for like a day and a half? I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
Because when the mama is there, there's no like, I'm going to, Lel's house and Iman's house and so-and-so's house, all the time. Yeah. But yeah, I do feel that there are moments of guilt. There are moments sometimes when you second guess your decisions. When I was getting divorced, I was second guessing myself. The choices that we make, we second guess ourselves. But again, I think when you are true to yourself and your core and what you believe in, with time, everything sort of works out. Initially, it's very, very tough. And I can tell you the approach I took, okay? Not everyone has to take this approach, and not everyone does. I have friends who didn't take this approach. I was quiet a lot. I used to stay quiet, and I used to hear it and smile. I used to, there was a lot of like, what do you do, where, all of that, and I used to just be quiet, and let it go, let it go, let it go. And today, I feel I'm in a position where I look at the same people, and again, I stay quiet. Because I don't need to prove to them. I never needed to prove to them even then. But it was more painful then, because it affects you,
Of course.
But yeah, it's hard. It's not easy. It's not easy right now. I mean, there are days where there are things that I say no to all the time because I'm like, Aslan's test week, Aslan's exams, But again, let me also make this clear that all of us who are successful, whether it's a successful man who's a father or a successful woman who's a mother, has to have a great support system. I think that goes without saying. And I have that, I'm very, very lucky to have that. And I've built that as well. So that's also another tip. Stay quiet. You'll have a great support system. No, I mean it. I mean, I'm very, very blessed that I can rely on my mother as well as my ex-mother-in-law. I can rely on my ex-husband as well as my brother and my mother. Do you know what I mean? I think that's something that I very consciously built.
Yeah.
And I wanted to do that so that my child is a product of a happy home. You know, broken home is a negative term. He's actually a child of, inshallah and mashallah, of a happy home. And yes, a lot of that has to do with a mother bringing it all together, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. I hope he doesn't ever read my diaries. Because he's going to become Molajat. He's going to be like, oh, mama went through this. I'm just joking.
Yeah. Mahira, you know, everybody knows that obviously you spent time working in Raees in India. And again, as we were saying in the green room back there, you get asked a lot about what was the experience of working with Shah Rukh, and obviously people are curious. So I'm going to table that. But again, with students here, with people aspiring to be, you know, in the industry, talk to us about breaking into somewhat unfamiliar territory. You know, we have this sense that there's nepotism, that, oh, you've got to have all the connections, and that's fair. But then we see you doing your first Indian film with, you know, I mean, opposite Shah Rukh Khan. Talk to us about that process of bagging that role, of breaking in, and also of the initial impressions of just being in India. I don't know if you'd been there before, but the sights, sounds, you know, kind of everything that came with that. And obviously, you know, from there, take us to when the film released, because obviously when it released, things had dramatically changed. And I remember watching interviews where the rest of the team was obviously in person and you were joining online, and I distinctly remember, Mahira, there was a dignity with which you were sort of presenting yourself there, because I feel the film was bigger than any politics around it or anything else that was happening. And it obviously went on to be a massive success. Talk to us about the experience with Raees.
Well, so like I said, that maybe there's something about my face or the way I talk or something that people think that I've had it relatively easier than whoever else. The truth is that, firstly, that's, I guess, not the truth. Whether it is how I got Bol or Humsafar or any other project, it's something that I knew nobody. Literally nobody in this industry in Pakistan. And India, obviously, I didn't know anybody.
Yeah.
But in Pakistan, I literally did not know anybody. And all the projects that I did came to me, and a lot of projects I completely said no to. So you'll be surprised to know that I've only done about 5 dramas or so, which is rare. I've been in the industry for now 10, 11 years. Yeah. But yeah, so I think people associate that sometimes that, wait, how did she get this? How did she get this film? You know, with Raees, it was very interesting. I've said this many, many times. But basically, I auditioned for it. I got a call. Humsafar had become very, very popular. And I think Shah Rukh had seen it, or someone had made him watch it. And so they called me. And I was very lucky because I was in Mumbai at that time for Humsafar to promote it. And I went in and I auditioned for it. And when I was auditioning, I remember looking at, you know how people, like there's a casting director and this and that. And I could see that their eyes were lighting up and I was saying, I love you. Just go on, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then I came back home to Pakistan. And I came back home and I remember I prayed and I prayed. Now, this is my lifelong dream, mind you. And I'm not trying to show how big-hearted I am, but I am. No, I'm joking. But I am actually telling you guys that I was so sure that I deserved it, that I actually prayed, dua ki maine, ki you give it to whoever deserves it. I swear this is not a lie. I prayed for that. I was like, Alamia, you give it to whoever you think deserves it. Because I leave it up to you.
Yeah.
I mean, you are the Almighty. So it's up to you, you know. And he said, okay. So, yeah, and then I left it at that, and within a day,
Wow.
within a few days, actually, I got a call. They called me back in, and I was like, how do I do this? And then I asked for the script. So I find it very funny when other actors say that they asked for a script and they didn't get it. I got it, and I read it. I went there. Actually, he narrated it to me over there. My director, Rahul Dalakia, who's amazing to me. And that was it. That was it. I had a project that I was already doing in Pakistan, Home and Jahan.
Yeah.
So I told them that, look, I have this commitment. I have to finish it. And they said, okay, fine, we'll wait for you. And then I went back. India for me was like, to be honest, we're all the same, really. I always say this, you know. We are so similar. We mess around the same way, we joke in the same way, we laugh about the same things, we cry about the same things and the same way. You know, we celebrate the same way. We're also big jugarus, same way. Like, you know, oh, this is happening, okay, I'll cut it up and make it, you know. And I'm like, wow, this happens here too, you know. Great food, great people. My cast and crew, I mean, leave Shah Rukh Khan, you know, out of this. My cast and crew was so kind to me. They looked after me like a baby, you know. It was just such a good time. There were also lonely moments. Sometimes I look back and I think, I wish I had taken someone with me. Today, my makeup artist, while he was doing my hair, he said, have you ever been scared in a hotel room? I said, yeah. He's like, where? I said, when I was in Mumbai. And he's like, really? I said, yeah, because I was all alone. So I hadn't taken anybody. I wish I had, you know. And so it was also a lonely time, you know. Because at the end of the day, I would wrap up and then everybody would go back home, but I would go back into a hotel room. So that was lonely. That is actually the time that Aslan, that was beyond me.
Yeah.
When he had come to visit me, oh, him and my father had come to visit me. I'll never forget that day when they were leaving and I had to stay on. And he was going and he realized that my mama, he was very young, so he realized my mama is not coming with me, you know, and I'd been telling him, Aslan, you know, mama has to stay back for just a few more days. Oh my God, he cried and cried. And after that, I was like, I'm never going to do this again. Wherever I go, I'll take Aslan with me. So, you know, that was one moment I can never forget. But yeah, it was a bittersweet time. And then as the release came about, it became even more bittersweet, you know, and that's politics. Unfortunately, India and Pakistan both, you know, just need that for politics. They need to pit each other, you know, pit each other against each other, I guess. And it's sad. Because if we as countries came together, I think we could do wonders.
Absolutely.
But I don't know if that'll ever happen. When it does happen, you see greatness, you know. When that happens, you see that, you know, Mahira Khan and Shah Rukh Khan come together, you know. I will always, I'll always imagine and wonder how it would have been if Raees got played in Pakistan. I think it would have been another level of blockbuster, because I know that my people would have gone to see us together. So it's just, I will always wonder, what would that have been like, you know? Forget me going to India. I had no regrets about that. My thing was, let it get played in my country. So yeah, that's the Raees story. I'm just very grateful I got to do that. Yeah. And till today, I speak to so many of my crew people, everybody, all the actors that I got friendly with, and it was a good time. It was a really nice time.
Mahira, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about social media, and we're in a time where, I know the less said, the better, I suppose, but we're in a world, I suppose, where it's not just enough to act, back up, leave, and switch off, or maybe that's possible, but it seems like that's sort of becoming less and less the case. And so obviously, on one hand, brands will be tracking following. There's a question of relevance. There's also fans wanting to have access now, and kind of seeing the more everyday, the more real in a sense. But then there's a slightly darker side, and I think especially with younger people in the room, that conversation's even more pivotal because there's trolling and shaming that's kind of become a way of life. Body shaming is a big, big thing. Obviously, part of it, kind of just virtual circles of gossip. And we talk about vulnerability and we talk about kind of normalizing our imperfections. But yet I think a lot of the conversation that most of us see online, not all of it, but to a large extent, when people are tweeting, they forget that the person at the other end of the tweet is in fact a human being. And so talk to us a little bit first about your relationship with social media, Mahira.
Oh. What can I say? It's so I used to really enjoy Twitter, and because I used to get a lot of love, and I used to be myself. I still try to be myself. I think the problem now with social media for us, people like us, has become that, I don't know if you noticed this, and please correct me if I'm wrong, when I was growing up, the people that I liked, the people that I loved and looked up to had a personality, They would say it like it is. They would say what was in their heart, Now, I watch a lot of interviews, and it's very diplomatic, and it's very straightforward. No, sorry, that's the wrong word. Not straightforward. Very
Sanitized?
Very sanitized. Very sanitized. I understand there is one thing being aware. There is one thing being conscious and mindful of what you're saying. That's very important. Today we can't say certain things that we were saying 10 years ago, and that's great because there's awareness. And we should be mindful and conscious about what we're saying. But I don't mean it like that. I just mean, who are you? Your personality. How do you talk? Do you make a joke out of things? Is that you? And if that is you, then can you be that person?
Yeah.
I think when it comes to me, I find that anytime I'm giving an interview, like right now, I was giving Mollajat interviews, and all my interviews got picked up where I'm joking and I'm laughing, and then there was insane trolling. And I thought to myself, for the first time, I didn't think that I don't deserve this. I thought, you don't deserve me. And I just bounced. And now, by the way, this comes with being a 37-year-old. Okay.
Yeah.
Not when you're young. When you're young, you're like, So I have come to a place where sometimes, like today, I'm feeling good and strong about myself, and I'm feeling mentally I'm good. So I'm saying that I actually thought that. You don't deserve me. So I'm going. And I left. I've taken a social media break for now. And there's so many things that are happening right now in Pakistan, and people are like, where is Mahira? Why isn't she saying something? And I'm just like, I don't want to do anything. I don't want to say anything. There are many other people, and go ahead and, speak to them. They should be saying things. Right now, I'm taking a break. And I don't think that neither do you deserve me and I don't deserve you. So that's the relationship at the moment I have with social media. Otherwise, on a more positive side, I have a great relationship when it comes to my true fans, and followers. I love interacting with them. I feel so much love. in Pakistan, they say like, I get a lot of backlash and trolling and this and that, but I don't think anybody can get the amount of love that I get. Really, it's genuine. It's not even fan-like. It's almost like, you know, I have this one fan. I remember, like, she would say, "I pray for you." You know that, right? You know, when you pray for somebody, you know, then it's more than just a fan. Then you love them. That's the kind of love I get, and so I love it.
Yeah.
I love it for that aspect. I love it that a lot of times social media is able to come together, raise awareness, and actually like a lot of things have happened when we've all put our voices together. So for that, it can be very positive. The other flip side for all of you younger children, like not children, adults, but my child, I constantly feel that there's a sense of inadequacy when you are on social media, you know? You're looking at somebody and you're looking at their Photoshop pictures and you're like, why isn't my skin like this? Why isn't my body like this? Oh my God, I've got these stretch marks, but you know, she doesn't. Or you're looking at holiday pictures. Those make me the most like, oh my God, can't believe this, you know? Really? How do they go to so many holidays and this and that? So I think social media should be treated just for what it is, which is that it is not true. It's not real life. And I understand that we are in the age of influencers and culture, and a lot of people tell me that you need to be on TikTok. Oh, I tried. I was so bad, I can't tell you, you know, but my brother keeps saying, Mahira, please. And then for Molajat, I had to sign up or whatever. I mean, you just have to see what my videos are like over there. So, but I also respect that this is the new generation. And by the way, I think that's something we also need to do. Sorry, maybe I'm rambling. But a lot of times people who are my age, we completely disregard social media as well. I don't think we should do that at all. I think it's important that we move with the times. It's important that we acknowledge that this is the change, you know, that there are, I'm sure, a lot of TikTokers here and you know, people who are interested in being influencers and stuff like that. You recognize that. But I think we can also make you guys aware of what is not real about this specific thing, because this will die down and something else will come up.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, no, and thanks, Mahira, for being honest about that, because hearing you say that, you know, talk about inadequacy, because that's how so many of us often tend to feel when we're online. And it's so important to hear that from someone who we know is a celebrity and a star, you know, because one often just assumes, oh, you know, this would be happening to just the average person on the street, you know. So thank you very much for your honesty on that.
No, absolutely not. I think people like me, I think celebrities probably look at other celebrities.
Yeah.
You know? Oh my God, how is this? It's not something that one should even think about or look at, because I can tell you, because I'm sure I'm one of those people that people look at pictures of and say, wow, man, look at the way the sari flew from here to there, or whatever it may be. There's a lot of work that goes into it. And honestly, most of it is not real. I don't know how else to put it, you know?
Yeah.
Of course, there are times that you put out your real self and your real feelings, but most of the time, you know, you're either promoting a designer or you're doing something else. So or a film, you know? Yeah.
Mahira, I know you're going to be tired of answering this question, but the audience will actually not spare me if I don't ask you this. So
sorry, can I just say something?
Yes, please.
Excuse me. Sorry. Actually, मुझे आप यहाँ से तस्वीर ले रहे हैं ना, तो मुझे अच्छा फेस की लेना ठीक है, It's making me nervous.
Yeah.
So I was just like, please don't, because there's like this cutout and thodi si sharam aa rahi. So bas ye again. Okay, yeah, go on. What's the question
No, I
that you
was
want
just
to ask?
going to say, Fawad Khan and you. I mean, yeah, right? Exactly. I knew we had to ask this. I mean, right from the days of Humsafar, Mahira, obviously, like, we see on-screen pairings that have been successful, other on-screen pairings, and you want to see them again, but this was just explosive, and it did not die down. You know, people wanted to see you both together again. And I thought about this when I watched Humsafar and when I rewatched it, and then, you know, in retrospect later again. But Khirad and Usher's roles in Humsafar, the roles that you and Fawad did, for people who might not know, when you watch them, you know, again and again, you realize that it was very interesting, because whilst there were moments when things were said, there were moments when people were screaming, but there were also a lot of silences. And there were a lot of moments, I think, where less was more. And that sort of, at least for me personally as an audience, I felt there was a lot of innuendo, and that added a kind of mystery and a kind of, you wanted more, you know, you kind of, and at that point I think it was so powerful, because the audience's imagination came into play, right? And you felt like, talk to us. I'm less interested in what the relationship with Fawad is like, but what really do you think makes this relationship tick in such an extraordinary way? Is it the nature of the roles you've done? And how do you preserve something so special?
You preserve it by not working with each other for a very long time. It's funny that people think that me and Fawad have actually done a lot of work together. We haven't. We've just done Humsafar and now Molajat. So I think somewhere we have gotten lucky with, like you said, preserving that, whatever you all want to call it, spark or magic or the chemistry. I think, I don't know what it is. I just hope that we are never aware of what it is. Because I think the minute we are aware of, oh, what is it that makes us together, come together and become this, what you guys love so much, I think the day we become aware of it, we might lose it. So we don't even, I don't think he thinks about it too much, and I don't think about it. I do think, you know, my friend who said to me, she's like, we were talking about Neelofer, that's our next project that's coming out. And she's like, she's like, oh, Neelofer is also happening, you know, it's going to come out next. I was like, yeah. She's like, and that's with Fawad. I said, yeah, that's with Fawad. She's like, Vaise, I have to tell you, your best work is with him and his best work is with you. I was like, whoa, geez, thanks. That means it's only like 3 or 2 things. But I think it's just like you said, there is something that people love about us together. And honestly, there is no other way for me to look at it except for be grateful for it and to take care of it, you know, to not misuse it so much. I think we both have been very mindful of that. Ki ye nahi ki, oh, hit jodi, let's do this. No, we don't do that. We're very like, okay, this is maybe for us, you know. So Mola and Mukho, I think, were meant for us. And Neelofer for sure is something special. So you guys will get to see a full-blown romance. Yeah. Mahira,
we'll wrap with the last question before we open it up to the floor. But you know, you spoke a little bit about Pakistan, and you know, obviously everybody knows that these have been fairly precarious and challenging times, not least of all because of the disaster that the flooding has caused. And beyond that as well, when we're in the headlines, often it's not for the best of reasons, whether that's exaggerated, whether that's genuine. And I sometimes think about this and I'm like, it's almost like people place Pakistan and its people, when we make it to the breaking news, in a kind of a cookie cutter, you know, it's just like, there's the oppressed woman, there's the ragged children threading through the streets. And of course that's there, but just like any other place, there's a lot more subtext and a lot more nuance. Mahira, I've heard you talk in other interviews and it was, you know, it really resonated. You've been really unapologetic about your unconditional love for the place that I imagine you call home, which is Pakistan. You're raising your teenage son there. And the word that we often hear about Pakistan, along with all the distressing news, is, oh, it's very resilient. I want to wrap this part of the conversation, Mahira, by asking you, what is your relationship with Pakistan? What does home mean to you? And are there any myths that you think we need to debunk, or that you might debunk, for people who may never see more than the breaking news sticker of a failed state of XYZ, and let's not even go there? What is your relationship with Pakistan?
Ooh, that has to be one of the best questions anyone has ever asked me, so thank you. And maybe the only time someone has asked me that. Oh, that's heavy. I think, you know, there's a reason why we call it, and every time I'm wishing Pakistan on like my post and stuff, and I'm writing, I always call it the motherland. Because I feel that Pakistan for me is like my amma and my abba, I would say, you know. It has given me so much. I was born there, grew up there. I met my best friends there in Karachi, where I grew up, and they're still my best friends. It gave me my home, Dada, Dadi, my Nani. It has given me so much. And because it is so resilient, it's taught me to be very resilient. By default, if you're a Pakistani, you're resilient, you know. You're adjusting all the time, you know. And it's lovely. But more than that, more than resilience, more than the fact that I am Mahira Khan from Pakistan, and I love the sound of that. When I was in Cannes walking, Mahira Khan from Pakistan, and I got, like, I knew I had to be like, tuk, 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 but I was like, oh my God, this is such a moment for me. Wherever I go, when I am outside of Pakistan, I am never just Mahira Khan. And that, to me, is such a proud moment. More than resilience, more than all of this that Pakistan has given me, respect, love of my people, the opportunities, everything. More than that, I think I have learned, at least living in Karachi, that Pakistanis on a whole are just the kindest of people. And I say that not because I'm being biased. I really mean that. I have traveled all across Pakistan. We shot Superstar in Peshawar. And I swear, this poor woman, she said, if you want to use the toilet, you can come to the house. What did she know? That our entire team was using her poor toilet and sitting there and having the dal chawal, and she had opened her entire house for us. And this just doesn't happen to a person like me. It'll happen to all of you regular people going to Pakistan. There's a sense of, come, we'll open our country, our homes for all of you. And so my relationship with Pakistan, if I had to sum it up, would be like how it is with my mom and my father, which is special. And it's not like they haven't disappointed me sometimes, you know. Sometimes you're growing up and you're like, why did my mom say this? or you find things out and you're like, that's not. But God, they're your mother, you know? And there is no one better than that. So I'd say it's like my mom, yeah. And it's a special one. I'm always going to be grateful to be born there.